Welcome back to Explaining Everything, the channel where we dive into the stories and mysteries behind everyday things. Today's question comes from one of our curious viewers, Dave the Grave, 1800. Thanks for the suggestion, Dave the Grave. You asked, why are graves no longer 6 feet deep? Ah yes, the old 6 feet under mystery. It's something we all accept as a phrase, but not a lot of us question. Like, why does mid mean bad now? Or why do hot dogs come in packs of 10 but buns in packs of 8? But this one's actually about graves, literal holes in the ground. So why don't we dig that deep anymore? Did shovels go on strike? Are we just lazy? Or did we realize 6 feet was overkill? Let's find out, right here on Explaining Everything. Let's rewind to the 1600s, specifically 1665, a time of powdered wigs, bad hygiene, and oh yeah, the bubonic plague. During this time in London, panic levels were sky high. People were dropping like flies, and city officials were scrambling to do literally anything. So the mayor of London issued a decree. All graves must be dug 6 feet deep. Why 6? Because science? Nope, because vibes. Okay, not entirely vibes. The thinking was deeper graves equals fewer chances for plague to escape the ground and infect the living. People didn't really understand germs yet, so they figured, bury it far enough down, and maybe it'll stay put. Sort of like how we deal with awkward texts. So yeah, the 6 feet under idea wasn't about tradition or symbolism. It was basically ancient public health theater. Now here's the thing. Digging a 6-foot grave is hard. Ever tried shoveling wet soil? It's like trying to scoop peanut butter with a fork. Back in the day, grave diggers were working with basic tools. No backhoes, no fancy equipment. Just a shovel, a sawback, and probably a lot of grumbling. And if you've ever stood in a hole that deep, you'll know it starts to feel more like a mine shaft than a resting place. Over time, people realized that burying someone that deep wasn't really necessary, especially once we started using coffins, concrete vaults, and other containment methods that stopped bodies from, doing anything gross. So why dig deeper when shallower gets the job done and doesn't turn every funeral into a construction project? Nowadays, cemetery regulations are kind of like airplane rules, overly specific and wildly inconsistent depending on where you are. Some places still have depth minimums, usually around 3 to 4 feet from the top of the coffin to the surface. But 6 feet? Rare. That's like the graveyard equivalent of double knotting your shoelaces and then duct taping your shoes to your feet. It's just a lot. The real goal now is safety and stability. We're not trying to bury secrets. We just want enough dirt to prevent smells, stop animals from digging, and keep the landscaping looking less like a Tim Burton movie. Also, fun fact, double-depth graves are a thing. That's when 2 people, usually a couple, are buried in the same vertical space. One coffin goes on the bottom, then another on top later. Romantic, right? Nothing says eternal love like stacked coffins. Another reason we've ditched the 6-foot rule? Money. Graveyards are surprisingly expensive operations. There's land, maintenance, equipment, staff, landscaping, fencing, you name it. And land, as we all know, is not getting cheaper. So cemeteries want to be efficient. Shallow graves mean less work, quicker digging, and less soil displacement. That's less time, less labor, and less money. Plus, with modern embalming and vault systems, there's no real benefit to going extra deep. It's like ordering a large pizza when a medium is perfectly fine. Except in this case, the pizza is a human. Let's maybe not stretch that metaphor further. Even though we don't really bury people 6 feet deep anymore, the phrase 6 feet under stuck. It's dramatic. It's poetic. It makes every crime show sound way cooler than it is. Imagine if the phrase had been 3.5 feet with a vault and manicured lawn. Doesn't really hit the same, does it? So the idea lives on in language, even if the literal practice has gone the way of the plague doctors and leech-based medicine. Also, can we talk about how 6 feet apart came back during the pandemic? Grave depth and social distancing, two totally different concepts with the same measurement. Coincidence? Maybe. Creepy? Absolutely. So, why are graves no longer 6 feet deep? Because that depth was a panic-fueled response to the plague. Because it's ridiculously hard to dig. Because modern burial practices don't need it. Because cemeteries have budgets. And because 6 feet under is more of a dramatic catchphrase than an actual rule now. The truth is, our burial practices have evolved. We have better science, better tools, and better ways to handle death than blindly shoveling dirt like we're hiding evidence in a crime novel. But even if most graves today are only 3 or 4 feet deep, that old 6-foot myth isn't going anywhere. It's too catchy, too creepy, and way too iconic. So next time you hear someone say 6 feet under, just remember, it's not about depth, it's about drama. If you liked this video, make sure to dig that like button. Okay, just one pun. And subscribe for more strange backstories behind the stuff we take for granted every day. Also, if you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for tuning in, and join us next time here in the channel that answers all the why, what, who, where, and how questions you've always wondered about, here on Explaining Everything.